Good morning. God bless the faithful and the obedient. This is Sister Liberty, and I'm back with another teaching. This morning, I wanted to talk about going and breaking beyond the mindsets, the curses, the behaviors of those who you grew up with, those who family line you may come from, areas where you may have grown up. It's necessary that you live in a way where you come out of those conditions, that you live in a way where you come out of those mindsets. So many of us have learned to be a particular way because we grew up in a society where many things were taught to us that were not true. Many things, our society is still communicating and speaking things to us each and every day, teaching us how to be, teaching us how to live, teaching us how to walk out certain behaviors and certain mindsets that are not beneficial for us. They're not healthy for us. They do not stir up a desire or an appetite for the truth of God and for the love of God. And so most of us who are now in the faith have had to undergo many different deliverances from mindsets and behaviors that were learned, that were taught, and curses. Many of us have had to undergo deliverance and, the renouncing and the confession and the repenting of certain things because you don't realize how there are curses dangling over your life. You don't realize how you've picked up the behaviors and the mindsets of those who have come before you. And so I want to talk about this because it's important. Most people don't realize that they're repeating the same cycles and the same patterns that many of their parents walked in, many of their ancestors walked in, many people from their ethnic background have walked in and are walking in. They don't realize that these things that are dangling over their lives are hurtful to them. They're dangerous to them. They're dangerous to their walk. They're dangerous to their faith. It's dangerous to your whole lifestyle. You don't realize that there are certain things that you do right now that you must unlearn because these things will attract more curses. These things will attract more unclean spirits to govern your life, to govern your children's life, to open doors to more curses. And so if you don't break these things, if you don't go beyond these things, if you don't come out of these things, then you will repeat the same types of behaviors and mindsets like those who came before you, but you will also partake in the curses that many of them have walked into, like having cancer. Many don't understand why cancer is now such a big thing. It's because of sin. It's because of the curses of sin. If you know, and if you are aware of certain medical backgrounds in your family or certain medical histories in your family, like high blood pressure, diabetes, or lupus, or sickle cell, or, anemia, whatever kinds of sicknesses that are out there, whatever kind of disease that are out there, breast cancer, lung cancer, skin cancer, hair loss. These things are generational curses. These things are a condition. So there's a song, and I hope that I don't cause anyone to stumble, so I may not go too deep into it. But what I wanted to draw from that is, it said that you can take a person, and excuse me for saying this. Again, I hope I don't offend anyone. It took me some time to actually come up with a title for this as to not offend anyone and to make sure that this message was relatable, that everyone can relate to it no matter who you are. So, it says you can take a person out of the ghetto or the streets. So I'm going to add the streets. I'm going to add the hood. I'm going to add, bad living conditions. It said that you can take a person from this place, from the ghetto, from the hood, from the streets, from this living condition, but you can't take the ghetto out of them. You can't take the hood. You can't take the street out of them. You can't really, what is being said is that you can't take the living conditions out of them. This is who that person is. This is what that person will always be in. The dangers of that is you not understanding that That's a mindset, and those are learned and taught behaviors that are detrimental to your whole life. You don't realize that. You may not consider that, but it's going to affect you because Solomon says this here in Proverbs, I believe 23. He says something in Proverbs 23 verse 7. For as he thinks in his heart, so is he. As a man thinks, then he's going to become that. So if you feel as though you're living your bad living conditions, the sinful living conditions that you were brought up in, you feel as though that makes you, most feel as though that it's a part of them. So no matter where this person moves, no matter where this person goes, it's saying that you can take me from this area, but do know that where I come from, where I grew up at, that's a part of me. That's in my heart. That makes up who I am. That's what that is saying when you hear someone says, you can take me from this place, but you can't take the place out of me. They're saying that this has become me. I've taken this on, and this is a bad condition. To live in poverty, that's a spirit. That's a spirit. That's a curse. That's a generation of curse. And that's a very unclean mindset to take on, feeling as though, no, this is where I grew up at and this is all that I will be. Okay. As you think, then that's what you will become. If you have these mindsets of where you've come from and how you were brought up, and you feel as though this makes you, although there are curses attached to how you were raised up. You were brought up in very bad, poor living conditions. And so most people, they don't understand that there's a reason to break out of poverty. They just take it on. Most of us, we watched our parents struggle. We watched our parents make bad decisions. They were fornicators. They were abusers of drugs. They were alcoholics. They were verbally abusive. They were liars. They lied on their taxes. They lied on their food stamps. They did bad things. They claimed kids that were not theirs. So we're going to have a real conversation this morning. They did bad things. They gambled. They played the lottery. They lied on other governmental documents claiming that person is their husband just to marry them, to get them over here, to get a new name. They did these kinds of things. And if we don't break what we've seen, if we don't break past the behaviors, so many of us, we've seen these behaviors and we've learned many of them, and then other things we were taught. If we don't break beyond these cycles and these patterns, then we're going to repeat them. You may have saw visible flaws in your parents. And you may have said to yourself, man, I never want to be this part of my mom, or I never want to be this part of my dad, or I never want to do the things that I saw my mom do, or I saw my uncle do, or I saw my dad do. I want to be different. But I'm letting you know, if the conditions of your heart and your mindset does not change, then you're destined to repeat it. You will walk in it. It's already dangling over you. The curses that are on your family line are already dangling over you. And if you just make room for it, if you just waddle in that, if you just accept things as they are, then you are already setting yourself up to walk in those curses. You are already open. You are already in position to tell these unclean spirits that, okay, I'm here and I'm available. Like nothing about me is going to change because I feel as though this is right. I feel as though walking in these ways, walking in these mentalities, being a certain way, being loud, being vulgar, being aggressive, being overly silly, being the kind of person that feels as though I have to let everybody know who I am. And I'm the one who nobody steps to. I'm the one who nobody wants to try, because I don't play with people. I don't play with dogs. I don't let people, run over me. I set people straight. I'll tell a person what it is. I'll put a person in their place. Those are learned bad behaviors or taught bad behaviors. To be racist, I don't want to get too much in that, but that's a taught and learned behavior, and that's keeping so many people in bondage because they feel as though they have to hold on to what they believe makes them up. Oh no, I was taught that, white people are bad, or white police officers are bad. I was taught these things. I was taught that I have to look out for my own kind. I was taught that, I'm always going to be a target in society because of my skin color. I was taught that I'm always going to be looked at. I'm always going to be the highlight because of my skin color. I was taught these things. And so because these things were put before me and I learned these things, then I took these things on. I took these mindsets on. And so now you have a heart to rebel against authority because your parents taught you that, hey, you're a target in society. Because of your skin color, they're already looking at you. So that allowed you to form a certain mindset. And so now you don't know how to respect authority. You don't know how to submit to authority because you feel as though, no, this makes you who you are because this is who your parents told you who you were. And most of our parents did not tell us the truth. They made us bad people because they were bad people. Unless your parents were godly, saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost, then that's a different story. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about those who came from, backgrounds where we learned to be rebellious, where we learned to be, promiscuous. We learned to be flirtatious. We learned to be independent. Our parents taught us that you have to look out for you as a woman. You're a woman. You're a growing female. You're growing into womanhood. You have to look out for you. You have to take care of you. Look out for you. Love you. Spend time on you. Embrace you. Talk about you. Do you. Be independent. Get your own. Get your own. Society has taught us that. And many of our parents have taught us that. And these are things that have to be unlearned. These are things that have to be undone. If you want to live a lifestyle of freedom, if you want to come up out of the ghetto, if you want to come up out of the streets, if you want to come up out of the hood, if you want to come up out of these bad mindsets and conditions, then you got to acknowledge that these things are there. You have to acknowledge that these things are a problem. If you are okay with it, then you're telling the unclean spirits that I'm okay with having cancer. I'm okay with having lupus. I'm okay with having, type 2 diabetes. I'm okay with having high cholesterol. I'm okay with having hair loss. I'm okay with having dementia. That's what you are saying to the curses that are over your life and the unclean spirits that are waiting to devour you. That's what you are saying when you continue to walk in the curses and the patterns and the behaviors of those that came before you and you don't do anything about it. You are aware that your parents grew up in poverty and so you make the same kinds of decisions. Those are the curses that are following you. When you feel as though, man, I was trying to do everything in my life to not be in poverty. Most people don't realize why they are in poverty. It's a spirit, but it's also a mindset. It's also a mindset. They don't realize why they are still in this condition. I was trying to avoid the decisions that my parents made, but here I am walking in the same kinds of decisions, doing what my parents did. I always told myself I never want to be like my mom or I never want to be like my dad, but I'm doing the same things. I'm having kids out of wedlock. I'm a drunkard. I curse now. I beat my wife or I beat my girlfriend, or I'm disrespectful towards the man that I'm dating or my husband because I feel as though I'm a woman and I don't let a man tell me what to do and how to do. That rebellion, we were learned and we were taught to be rebellious. Your society is communicating to you that you don't have to submit to a man. You don't have to submit to authority. You are your own person. You are your own woman. You are stronger. You can do better things than the man can do. Matter of fact, you are better than the man. Your society is teaching you how to rebel. Your society is trying to set you up for the curses. They don't want to tell you that there are curses and sicknesses and disease that are dangling over your life, but they want to tell you how to get it. They want you to rebel. They want you to feel as though you don't need God. Whatever you feel in your heart, if you believe that love is between a woman and a frog, then don't let nobody judge you. If you believe that a woman is, love is between a beast and a woman, then don't let nobody tell you what love is. If you feel as though this is love, if you feel as though this is what you want to be or who you want to be, don't let nobody tell you different. You be that. But they're not telling you the curses that comes along with that. They're not telling you what's really behind door number 1 and door number 2. Your society is communicating things to you. Your childhood, the way many of us was brought up, those things have shaped us and molded us into who many of us are now. Many of us, we are bad people. We do bad things. We think that certain things are okay because we were taught that. And we feel as though no matter where I go, you can't take that from me. You can't take the fact that I grew up in this area. You can't take that from me because this is who I am. Yeah, I came from the streets. I came from the hood. I came from the ghetto. And so no matter where I go, that follows me. The mindsets, the behaviors, they follow me. And so if I'm always someone that's getting in trouble with the law, then you don't realize that there's something dangling over your life. There's something following you. There's something that's there that you're not aware of. You're just living life. You think that everything is everything. You're clueless to the fact that there are curses following you. There are curses that are trying to overtake your life so that you can be worse than those who came before you. You don't realize that this is what's happening? Yeah, the generations are getting worse and worse. Yeah, because the curses that are on people's family line are becoming stronger and stronger. Yeah, because the person that's next in line, something in them is not saying, hey, you know that these are breakable. Hey, you know that you could be an interruption. Hey, you know that you are not subject to the sins and the mindsets and the behaviors that your parents walked in. Me and you, we saw our parents walk in certain things. We were aware, meaning there were things visible. There were behaviors that were visible. There were curses that were active and visible. There were sicknesses and disease that were active and visible that we could pinpoint and call out like, hey, I noticed that, yeah, this is on my family line. When you go to the doctors, they ask you, hey, does your family have any medical history? Yeah, what they're saying is, are there curses on your family line? They're not going to say it like that, but they're going to say it in a way that seems very normal because everybody has a medical history. Everybody's family line has medical history. Yeah, this family line, they have lupus or they have hair loss or they have cancer. Everybody in this family has breast cancer. They make it sound so normal so that you can just take that on. Hey, prepare yourself because your record shows that high cholesterol runs in your family. So you need to start preparing to eat right now. You need to start preparing how to not take in so much sugar right now. You need to learn how to not do these things right now because cancer runs in your family line. These kinds of diseases runs in your family line. And when you can get to a place where you understand that, wait a minute, I don't have to walk in the sins of my parents. Who said that you did? Who said that you can just take this on? Because everybody is living a life that says everything is everything. You fall on bad times. I fall on bad times. Bad things happen to you. Bad things happen to me. It's a part of life, but nobody is doing anything about it. Nobody is saying, wait a minute, I'm not subject to the curses of cancer. I'm not subject to the curses of drunkenness, meaning just because my father walked in this, my mother walked in this, she had multiple sex partners, or my father was verbally and sexually abusive. You have people who have incest as a curse that runs in their family, and you have family members that are just keeping things silent and letting everything be everything, but nobody wants to talk about the curses in the family. It's amazing to me. So we're having a real conversation. It's amazing to me how, most people's family, they want those that are actually striving and breaking off the generational curses, breaking off the mindsets and the behaviors. Most of their families, they want them to come back and live a lifestyle of sin, but nobody's talking and addressing the curses that are in the family line, like the fact that the uncle molested the niece and the cousins were doing things with the cousins and the grandma walked in and saw it and didn't say anything. No one's talking about these things. No one's talking about the fact that, hey, grandma, there's generational curses that you opened the door to or that her grandmother opened the door to. No one's talking about these things. No one's addressing it. No one's addressing the elephant in the room. We're just letting bygones be bygones. We're letting everyone live their life. No one wants to judge the person. But what are we doing? What are we doing? Because we must understand that there is a spirit realm and everything that you and I do is a result of what's already happening in the spirit realm. And so if we take on the mindsets, if we take on the curses, then what we are saying is that we agree with the sins of our parents. We're saying that, no, I agree with the sins that my ancestors walked in. Listen, we thank God for freedom here in America. We thank God for Dr. Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks. But these people, they lived a bad lifestyle that opened the door to other curses. Yeah, that's why most of the people that look like me and that are my color, they live in a state of poverty and they can't come out of that. Yeah, the mindset and the curses keeps It keeps them bound. Most of them already are living a life that says, this is what it is. Yeah, I live in the hood and the hood is a part of me. The hood is what makes up me. Yeah, you don't realize that you're walking into the curses that those who came before you did. You're agreeing with the mindset that says, no, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be lustful. It's okay to be perverted. It's okay to have evil thoughts of murdering somebody. It's okay to have evil thoughts of undressing that person. You're telling yourself that, no, it's okay. This is the way things are. You got people living fake lives and telling themselves that, no, this is okay. It's okay that the fact that, I've had kids out of wedlock. I beat myself up. I feel condemned. I feel ashamed. I feel embarrassed. So what's the point of trying to make any changes? Most people feel as though they're already in this situation. I'm already in this condition. And so I might as well just lay it. I might as well just eat it. I made this for myself. I might as well just eat it. Yeah, the enemy, the devil, the inner me and the enemy lies to you and tell you that, just take this on. It's already too late. You've already made bad mistakes. The curses are already active over your life. Just try to maneuver your way around it. Just fake it till you make it. Just it is what it is. The mindset says it is what it is. I've already made these mistakes. I've already had multiple kids, multiple, I don't want to say baby daddies. I don't like that word. But multiple, fathers or whatnot. I live in the projects, or I live on Section 8, or I live on housing. Everything is everything. And you wonder why most people, they stay in that. And I'm not saying that, being on Section 8 and housing and living in the projects is bad. What I'm saying is there's a mindset that is governing the people that keeps them there. Meaning they don't come out of that. Most do not come out of that. They don't make it out of that because they take on a mindset that says, well, this is all that I know I can do, or this is all that I believe that I can do. Most don't believe, hey, you can come out of that. Hey, you know that there's something that can be broken. There's something in the atmosphere that is over your life that you can break through. You don't have to walk in the behaviors, the sins, the mindsets. You don't have to walk in what your parents walked in. You don't have to take that on. You don't have to take that on. You can interrupt the plans of the enemy on your family line. You can interrupt that. Yeah, the devil already has things sought out for you and I when we are born. Because some of us have some very strong curses on our family line. I didn't even talk about witchcraft. That's a whole nother thing in itself. Yeah, if you came from a family line like I did, where the witchcraft was so strong, yeah, then you already know that right there in itself, that's a very powerful stronghold. Witchcraft, that's a very powerful stronghold because that can show up in many different forms. Rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, but manipulation is witchcraft as well. When you just manipulate your way out of things and you're good at lying and you're good at making the lie sound like a truth, that is witchcraft. That is manipulation. Many of us have walked into that and taken that on, and we don't realize that that's made many people witches. You have people that are witches and don't even know it because of the behaviors that they were taught or that they learned, they're taking on and they're walking in it. And the enemy, he wants them to remain in that bondage. That is bondage. To walk in the behaviors and the sins of those that came before you, to take it on as, it just being normal, it just being what it is. I know this is what it is. We all grew up in the hood. We all grew up in the streets. This is what it is. I'm going to be here till I die, or I'm going to go out like this. That's a mindset. That's a behavior. And I'm bringing these things to the surface because I'm letting you know that these things can be broken. You don't have to be subject to the sin that you saw your parents walked in or the behaviors that they walked in. You don't have to walk in them. You don't have to take those on. You don't have to receive them, because to continue walking in them is saying, I receive it. I agree with it. You don't have to agree with what they call wet dreams. Most of us, we grew up having what they call wet dreams, where unclean spirits would come in our dreams and have sex with us. And we took that as normal. Or some people had an imaginary friend. That's not normal. That's not okay. There are unclean spirits that are dangling over your life, The moment you are born, they're waiting for you. They're waiting for you because they're already over your family line. And so certain things that, we picked up as a child, no one told us, hey, you should not have an imaginary friend. That's the devil. Make him go in Jesus' name. You should not be having wet dreams, or people shouldn't be coming in your dreams and talking to you even though they're dead. Dead people should not be talking to you. You should not be talking to dead people. That's not normal, but that's becoming a thing today. Hey, have you tapped in to your ancestors? Have you tapped into your roots? Have you decided to, speak to any of your dead ancestors and seeing if you can get a word from them? That's common today, but most don't realize that. No, that's curse. That's a curse. That's a curse. But many of us were not taught that these things were bad and that we can command them to go. The fact that the enemy comes in your dream and he disguises himself as maybe a famous celebrity or a famous artist that you were deeply in love with. Hey, this person came in my dreams last night and we did this. Oh yeah, I used to think that was okay and that was cool until I realized it was a demon. Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that I'm being sexually active with an unclean spirit? Yeah, they just disguise themselves. Those things are bad. We have to get to a place where we start disagreeing with the curses and the sins that are over us and on our family lines. Listen, if no one else in your family line can see what you can see, meaning they don't care that there's curses in the family line and that there's dark secrets and that there's sicknesses, that there's actually real problems in the family. They don't care to know if they're okay with the way things are, then you leave them. But if you can identify, if God is pulling on your heart, if he's convicting your heart, if you are tired of living in poverty, if you are tired of taking on the behaviors and the conditions that are on your family line, then Jesus is letting you know, hey, you can break this. Hey, you could come out of this. I give power so that you can be free. I give power so that these things no longer are subject over your life. You can command them to go. You can be delivered. You can be free. You can be sanctified. He makes it known in his word that you don't have to walk in this. Hey, you don't have to take this on. Who said? You can go ahead and interrupt the process in the plans of the enemy right now. Right now, you can interrupt the process. Yeah, what the enemy has sought out for your life, I'm going to make sure this person is worse than their parents. I'm going to make sure this person is more promiscuous. I'm going to make sure that this son, he drinks more than his father. He becomes more of an alcoholic than his father. He becomes more abusive to his wife and his girlfriend. I'm going to make sure that she becomes very independent, that she never knows what it's like to submit to a man and to submit to authority. I'm going to make sure that she raised her kids to know that you are black and you got to look out for your own. I'm going to make sure that she raised her kids to follow their heart. The enemy is doing this, y'all. He's doing this. There are strongholds and there are real curses that are governing people's families. Seriously. And if you can be the one who says, this has to start with me and it has to stop right now, because it has to start with someone. Apparently it didn't start with many of our parents because they kept the trend going. They kept the pattern going. They kept the cycle going. They thought it was okay. Apparently their parents thought it was okay and their parents thought it was okay. But eventually someone has to rise up and say, no, it stops right now. It starts with me and it stops right now. No, I would not be subject to the curses that are on my family. Now, I would not walk in the sins of those who came before me. You got to make that declaration. The only way you can do that, though, is submitting to God. Most of us, we were not taught submission. We were not taught how to submit to authority because, our parents let us do whatever we wanted to do. If we wanted ice cream for breakfast, they gave us that. If we wanted to come in late, they let us do that once we got a certain age. If we wanted to have a phone at 11 and 12 and be on different social media platforms, they let us do that. They were not mindful. They did not monitor the things that we watch, even on TV. Most of our parents did not monitor what we watch. They didn't monitor what came on Disney and what came on Nick and Cartoon Network and ABC Family. They did not monitor that. They were not sensitive to the fact that the enemy is communicating through these devices. They just let us sit before it. And, witchcraft was being communicated to us. Fornication was being communicated to us. Anger was being communicated to us. Rebellion. That's why when kids get a certain age, You know when they're starting to pick up bad habits, when they start saying things like, I hate you. Like, wait, Billy, James, where did you get that from? Because I didn't raise you like that. Yeah. It's what they learned on TV. The TV taught them that. The TV taught them how to rebel because you don't monitor what they're watching. Most of our parents were not mindful at the fact that we were watching things filled with witchcraft on TV. Yeah, children are learning how to be witch at early ages nowadays. They're putting it in books. When you go to the library, when you go to Target, all you see is spells and enchantment kinds of books. And they're for the kids. And most are just overlooking it. It's just a book. It's just a show. It's just a movie. You don't realize that the enemy is after the young people. Why? Because they're the next generation. Oh no, I need this to be a rebellious generation. I need this to be a generation of rebels. I need this to be a generation that engages themselves in witchcraft. And while many of us are just living our lives, I'm working hard for my kids, Sister Liberty. I'm trying to make ends meet right now. And so I don't have as much time to invest in my kids. I don't have as much time to spend with them as I would like. Listen. You got to know when it's time to make some necessary adjustments and shifts in your life for the betterment of your life and your children's life, because the enemy is after them. Listen, if you don't teach them, if you don't make them aware of the curses that are over your life, because none of us want our children to go through what we went through. We went through some stuff. I don't know about you, but I went through some stuff. I don't want my kids to go through that. So I'm going to tell my child the truth. Because I love my child, I'm going to tell my child the truth. Hey, you do not have to walk in these things. You do not have to, take on rejection, because most of us experience rejection. Most of us experience being abandoned and neglected. And so we had to be free from that. Most of us had to be healed and free from that as we came to the Lord. And so with our kids, we have to tell our kids the truth. If we don't teach them, then somebody else will. We have to let our children know that, hey, they are loved. You are loved. God loves you. You are chosen. You are valuable. Don't worry about what anybody says. When you can build their confidence in the Lord and you can let them know who they are and who they belong to, then they don't go through the things that you and I went through. Nobody told us that, we were precious and that we were valuable and that we were wanted. God loves us. No one told most of us that. Now, if your parents told you that, then praise God. Praise God. I pray that kept you. But most of us were not told the things that we should have been told. That would have saved us a lot of heartache in elementary school, middle school, high school, into adulthood. But I thank God that he saves. I thank God that he delivers and that he does heal, because he found many of us in this condition and he saved us and he redeemed us and he broke the curses. Listen, I've been in this walk of faith for consistently going on 14 years consistently. And let me tell you, God is still breaking off things off of me. I wasn't even in the world for 20, 30 plus years. I got saved at 17. The Lord is still breaking off layers of the word. The Lord is still undoing things that was sown in me at an early age. He's still breaking off generational curses, because you have some that are stronger than others. There are some curses that you got to fight to break off. You got to be aggressive in breaking it off. You have to constantly renounce it and command it to get off, because you no longer want to be subject to what it comes with. No, this kind of curse, it makes you fearful of people. This kind of curse, it makes you want to isolate yourself. This kind of curse makes you feel as though you got to be defensive. This kind of curse, it makes you stay in a mindset that says, I can't love me. Nobody can love me. Yeah, those insecurities that make you feel as though you're not accepted, you're not wanted. Yeah, those are curses. So there are things that gets broken off immediately, and then there are things that gets broken off over time, depending on how strong it is. The point is that it's breakable. It's breakable. These curses, they are breakable. They do fall off. They can fall off. The behaviors and the mindsets, God can break that off. Those things can be unlearned and untaught, because there are things that I am still unlearning that my society taught me. I'll give you an example. Society taught me that I should follow my heart. I should follow my heart. And I'm a little congested, so excuse me. You know, I should follow my heart. And I believe that I took that on. And because I followed my heart that is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked, it led me to some dead ends. It led me to a broken heart. When I got saved, I had to unlearn that mindset and that belief of thinking that I should follow my heart, thinking that my ways are better than God, thinking that I know life. You know, I had to unlearn it, and I had to begin to follow after God's heart and allow God to give me a new heart, and for the Lord to break off that false belief. We've taken on false things. We've taken on different perspectives and mindsets from the world that as a believer, you cannot carry that with you on your journey. That has to be broken off. You cannot take certain mindsets, certain beliefs. You cannot take those things with you. They have to be broken off. Those things will get in the way. That's why most people, when they come into the faith, if they're not serious about breaking certain curses off, certain mindsets off, if they're not aggressive with doing that, then those things will hinder them from pursuing a relationship with God, a healthy relationship with God, because your mindset already tells you that you don't need this. Your mindset tells you that you're entitled to things. God owes you. You know, God was the one that dealt you this hand. So you feel obligated, you feel entitled, and you feel as though if things doesn't work out the way you want them, then you withdraw, you back out, you go back into the world, because you have mindsets that are meant to do this. No, because these mindsets, these curses, they're so strong. They're meant to make you feel as though God owes you. And if God doesn't work things out in your favor, then they're meant to cause unbelief or to stir up unbelief and doubt. They're meant to do that. They're meant to do that. And so if you don't break them, if you don't come out of them, then you are destined to repeat and walk into the same things that your parents walked in. And then you take on the curses. And guess what? The curses are going to be a lot stronger than what they were on your parents. They're going to be a lot more harder to break out of than your parents. Yeah. Yeah. So that is probably my alarm. My little person is up. He's up. And so, let me see if I can bring him in. My little person is up, but, you know, on a more serious note, we need to know that how we were brought up, how we came up, we are not subject to these things. We need to know that these behaviors need to break off. These bad conditions, they need to be broken off. We cannot agree with them. We cannot be okay with them. We cannot. So that is my message. That is my message. I pray and I pray and I hope that it finds you at a good time and that the Lord give you ears to hear. You need to understand and you need to know that you are not subject to the sins and the curses that are on your family line. You can be an interruption. That's what God wants to make you. He wants to make you one who interrupts the plans of the enemy on your family line, who interrupts the plans of sin that are already active, because there are things that if you have parents that are living, there are things that they're still doing that's causing more curses to fall on you. But Jesus is saying you can interrupt that. Interrupting that means you are surrendering your life to God. You are giving your life to him. And as you do, he's breaking things off. And guess what? Those curses, they no longer have dominion over you. They no longer have power over you. You are now free. Yeah, because you have a new bloodline now. You're no longer, you're no longer connected to the bloodline that you were born into. Yeah, and that bloodline are many different curses and many different other things. But you have a new bloodline because you are now engrafted into Jesus Christ. So you have new blood running through your veins. So the curses are no longer, they're no longer in place to govern your life. They no longer have dominion and power over you. You are now free. Yeah, there are so many things that I've broken off and that I shattered simply by submitting myself to God. Yeah. James says in James 4, verse 7, I believe, if I submit myself to God, resist the devil, then he has to flee. He has to go. So if I submit myself to God, if I commit my life to God, if I follow him Wherever he goes, if I live a sacrificial lifestyle unto God, then he's going to keep me. He's going to protect me. He will make sure that no curse follow me, because the power that'll be over you, those other spirits and those other curses won't be able to stand against that power. They will have to flee. They will have to go. Yeah, because you're no longer in sin. You're no longer this person. You're no longer identified as that person. And so they can't touch you. They can't reach you, because now you're in the hands of the potter. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my message. I pray that it blesses you in Jesus' name.